Welcome back to another edition of the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45, and I have the pleasure of having Jim. I don't know if you want to give your last name or not, but that's up to you.
Conville?
McConville.
Yep.
I want to welcome to the show. I've learned a lot from this guy here. I remember I was in Homestead. I think it was Homestead, 2020 pandemic year, which thank God for track people that opened the track, because I think by June we were able to get back out and get on the track. And we were talking down in Homestead, and I was just like, man, I want to race some more, and that's when you chimed in and you started telling me stuff, right?
Yeah, I was telling them that I race all up and down the coast and all these different tracks, and it's just a really cool experience. You get to different tracks, you get to meet all cool new people, and it's just a good time.
I was skeptical at first, because just thinking about the logistics parts of it, and getting down to because we're in Massachusetts and it's a long ride, you got me thinking about like the schedule, and you were talking to me about Azure and just Azra, tech. I was doing working earlier, so you know how that is. And you had me thinking about the track, and you were just like, yeah, man, go ahead and look at the schedule and kind of take a closer look, because a lot of the races overlap. And you made it seem like it wasn't a bad experience. And before we get into like scheduling and stuff like that, though, let's talk about like how long you've been racing, and when did you start going wherever you wanted to go race.
So my rookie year was up in New Hampshire in 2011, and I believe in 2012 was my first time with a buddy. We wanted to go to Jersey and check that out, and we had a great time. We went the following year, and at that point I started fading away from my home track and wanted to venture everywhere else and see what else I like, and what other tracks there are, and what to learn, be a better rider, a well-rounded rider, instead of learning to ride at one track.
Got you. And so, were you when you first started, you already knew about all these other tracks? You're doing track days and stuff like that?
No,
No.
I maybe went to one or two of them before that. VIR was probably the only one I went to before that happened, and I just figured I'll check them out. It's a good way to learn.
Yeah. I kind of, I was talking with TJ, on earlier shows, and talking about like not really doing a track day, and you chimed in saying, well, getting your license is a track day weekend, but for me, I didn't. It took me like 7 or 8 years to say, okay, let me go somewhere else and race, and it seems like you were doing that kind of early on.
Yeah, like I said, I went to a couple other tracks. I went to Jersey and Daytona and had a blast and learned made some new friends while I was out there, and thought, this isn't as intimidating as I was afraid to, because our home track up in New Hampshire, the whole season's at this one track, and you build a family from being there, so you kind of feel like the new kid on the block when you go somewhere else. And I didn't really get out of my comfort zone going to these other tracks, so I just kind of wanted to expand and go to more, and kind of like what you do now. You just want to go to a new track almost every year.
Got you. And when did you decide, like, you were going to do like all the regions of CCS and Azra? Was that right off the rip?
2014. That was when I was going after the Azra National Championship, and I wanted to do 3 other regions, so I went full send in 2014.
And kind of been doing it ever since.
I got burnt out, to be honest, that year. And then I ran into some injuries from crashes, and scaled it back a lot. And then basically when COVID happened and we couldn't go anywhere, that's like you said, I looked at the schedule, and a lot of the different regions all kind of bled into each other in the same schedule. So I looked at this and said, oh, if I do these couple weekends, I can do all these regions. And I had a blast doing that. So I kind of kept doing it since then.
Got you. And in the beginning, and even now, but more in the beginning, when you started camping out and stuff like that, and planning your trips, like what are some of the mistakes you've made, or things you've learned along the way?
So I can at least say my first CCS experience, my friend and I rented a tent. It was the display model that could fit nothing more than a queen mattress in there, and we just didn't know. It was the two of us sharing sharing that small tent, and it was like 90 degrees in the middle of the summer, and it was brutal. And then the next time we went, we took his air conditioner out of his window
Wow.
and tried to zip it around the tent. And then we didn't think about the condensation drip, so it dripped inside our tent,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything got flooded inside there. So, we learn along the ways, and I've noticed with Chris too, is the more he kept going, he kind of kept paying attention to my pit and my trailer setup, and things started clicking and making sense. And I could see him taking notes like, all right, next weekend I need, walls for my canopy. Next time I need another canopy, and now I need a generator. And it's a, a long time of developing a list of the things to be prepared.
Gotcha. I even commented that you should write a book because there is so much information. I mean, even getting to the track early. And why do we want to get to the track early?
That's another lesson I learned the hard way. Is when I was limited with vacation time, I would do these road trips that are like 1,000 miles, and I would do the whole trip in maybe 2 days. Show up exhausted Friday night, wake up for tech and morning practice, and then learn a new track, and I just didn't get to enjoy it because I was always tired and not well rested. So now my game plan is to get there a day early from when I'm riding, whether I'm doing the track day or not until race day, but I'll get there at least a day to recoup, relax, and set up and be ready to ride.
Yeah. And that's very important. Like you, I showed up, late night and try to get up early, and by Sunday I'm like I'm not racing today because I'm done. And
You're
you're
checked
like,
out, right?
and you're like, you got to get here sooner. Got to get here sooner. And now I follow suit in trying to get to tracks as early as possible. And even when you sign up for races, right? It makes sense to get there early. It makes sense to do that early too.
You're spending a lot of time and money to commit yourself to do these weekends. You want to enjoy it to the full capacity.
Yeah, you definitely. Now, I noticed you don't necessarily cook, but you have a lot of stuff. I mean, it seems like you're kind of prepared just about almost every condition.
I did try the cooking a couple times. I would bring a little portable grill and propane, but the problem for me was keeping the food cold, because if I was taking 2 or 3 days to get to the track, I didn't want to deal with ice packs and keeping everything in coolers. So it was just easier for me to go get takeout and not deal with, the condiments, the plates and the forks, knives, and all that. It was too much work for me, especially going by myself.
Right. But you have an ice maker.
I did get an ice maker, and that was probably my last little gadget that I bought for the pit setup. Again, when you're at the racetrack and it's 100 degrees out, and you need to get ice for your cooler, and it's 5 miles down the road, and it's $6 a bag, it's just easier to pour your own from a bottle of water and make your own ice at your convenience.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned is like, the more things that you can do for yourself, the easier it is your weekend, whether it's bike maintenance or picking up food ahead of time and doing all these things. And because if not, your weekend can be horrible, right?
Convenience is key. I mean, like I said, you're spending a lot of time and money to be there at the racetrack, and you want to enjoy it to your fullest. So anything you can do to make it more convenient and less stressful. So have your bike prepared fully and deal with your food, or make a buddy system, which was big for me, is to set up your pit near somebody that you know. That way you kind of can help each other out in a sudden situation like a rain event or a crash or something like that.
Right. And even being able to choose, on top of the hill versus in the swamp just when it rains, right?
I had my tent floating in New Jersey one year. So I learned the low spots on the track there too.
There's one mistake I keep having, which is I've been destroying my canopies. I think I'm on my 5th canopy.
I think I went through 2 or 3 this year.
So, paying attention to like wind conditions and these things. Again, things I see you do is this. It just like when it's gonna rain. Like the night before, you're lowering in your tent, your canopy, because it's gonna be windy. And these are just from hard learned mistakes, or just talking to people.
Just kind of paying attention to what happens in the paddock and seeing people that don't flip their canopies. I've seen them get destroyed in the wind, or if it's not going to be windy and it's raining, I see people setting up, the canopy walls, and it just kind of clicks like, oh, they're going to keep their stuff and their electronics dry because everything's walled in. They're making a fort.
Nice, nice. Now getting to the track, you've put me onto a few apps that save some cash essentially. It seems like again, talk about that a little bit.
It just goes through years of experience, and every dollar counts. So if you can save some money on gas and it converts into getting another rear tire for a race, even the better. So apps like Gas Buddy or ones that work with traffic and routing. There's another one that I use for, I think, Truck Map, I think it's called, because you can basically say that I have a trailer, so it'll avoid routes like in Connecticut that don't allow trailers or parkways.
Oh, yeah.
So there's stuff like that just makes things less stressful for your trip.
I got on Spring Hill Parkway with this trailer, and I got to the point where it said like 8 point something height, and I was able to get off barely, and it was like a tight. I'm surprised I didn't hit the car or hit the Jersey barrier. It's very important to have apps that avoid low bridges and roads that you're not supposed to be on because you have a trailer.
That'd be a very expensive mistake.
I've had a few of those. Definitely had a few of those. Now, even like talk about your trailer maintenance and just your car maintenance, because it seems like you have a log of just about every mechanical part that can go wrong. Changing fluids a certain time. I mean,
right. So like I've explained to Chris, like you're traveling 1,000 miles and you're giving up vacation time and spending money to do all this. You really don't want to miss out on that weekend or your plans because of a mechanical failure, whether it's your bike, your tow rig, or even your car. So I'm very on top of making sure my trailer bearings are repacked at least once a year, and making sure the transmission and the gear fluing in my vehicle is always clean and checked and topped off, and make sure the bike is ready to go. That way, when I'm at the pits, I don't have to think about this. I can just throw a leg over and ride.
Right. Yeah, I will say you're one of the few people that have car issues or bike issues, but you also do a lot of your work yourself. And now, you must use like friends and the web for a lot of information to help you along the way.
I've just been kind of learning as I go. One of my good friends that actually got me into this and doing this taught me in the beginning on how to do these things, and we worked on other people's bikes. And then I just kind of went from there on my own, and just fortunately or unfortunately, I've been racing the same bike for 10 years. So, once you kind of learn the ins and outs out of it once, you can do it blindfolded.
Right. That is true. I don't know if I can have one bike for 10 years. I'm working on it. Now, what's planned for this year? And what do you have your sights set on?
So for me, I've always had an interest in trying Wera, just because they go to different tracks that I've never been to, and I always at least want to go to one new track to me each year. And one that's been high on my list is Barber Motorsports Park.
Okay.
I went there a year or two ago to help pit crew for a buddy that was doing Moto America, and I saw the place and did a track walk, and I'm like, I need to ride here. So at the end of the CCS season last year, I started looking at Wera and said, I'm going to try these guys. They go to some tracks that I've been wanting to go to.
Gotcha. Yeah, hopefully do the same this year. I definitely want to try to get to Barber or maybe Talladega this year. Have you been out to? I know you did like Black Hawk. Have you done like Mid Ohio or any of those tracks?
Not Mid Ohio, but I've done as far as the Midwest goes. I've done Road America a couple times, which is an amazing facility, amazing track. I went to Audubon a few times. I did their north and south courses a couple times, and I've been to Black Hawk a few times, which I'm really a big fan of that place, even though the track may not be very agreeable to most riders.
Yeah, very tight, very very small. I like it. I'm hoping to go back this year. I'm probably going to try to run back the Azra series this year. I do like it because it really showed me how much space I have on these other tracks.
When you when you start going to the nicer tracks that are freshly paved, you get very spoiled. And then when you go to an older track that's got the history and it's quite bumpy, you kind of forget.
And the
Holy crap.
trees. Can't
And the
forget those trees.
The curbs, right.
I guess, don't look at the trees. Look at the track, man. No, Black Hawk was a fun time. I'm looking forward to going back there. Now, what do you think about Loudon and the Neymar series and the Classic, and the big $250,000 purse?
That's bringing a lot of attention lately. A lot of attention. They just released the current list of the entries for the Classic today.
Yep.
And there's some big names in there, man. I'm really rooting for some of these guys, and I hope the locals can really dice it up with the top pros that are going. And it's going to be a fun race, and it's nice that they're adding a couple extra laps to it too.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's 25.
25.
And I assume some of these guys are going to have to come to Loudon before.
So I've heard from a few people that some of the big names have already committed a few months ago when the purse money was being discussed, that they were going to go to a couple of the rounds, obviously whether, depending,
right.
But just to get some extra seat time, because a track day is not going to be good enough for these guys to be competitive at that level with some of the locals that have been racing at the same track for 15,
40 years. Well,
15,
since the new track layout, right? I guess whenever that was. Yeah. Who do you have you have a favorite yet, or who do you think is gonna?
So I actually just had this discussion before I came here with one of my friends who's a long-term Loudon rider. My top pick is going to be Josh Hayes.
Okay.
And I think second's going to be Shane, because that's his home track, and he's the king of Loudon at this point.
Okay.
Third, I'm thinking it's either going to be Stefano or Tyler Scott.
Okay.
And I haven't done all the five, but I think it fifth place was going to be I forget the list now. I forget the other guy. That Scott Greenwood, I think, is going to be probably fifth.
Okay.
But I'm missing like a fourth position. I haven't figured that out yet.
Eric Wood.
I don't know if he can do that many laps for that long though.
That's true. Now they were on a podcast the other day, and they sound like they're training for it.
I'm looking forward to seeing what I think Sweeney and Heron are going to be battling back and forth a lot. I think that their riding style, and I think they'll be pretty close with their laps too. I think that'll be pretty exciting too.
Okay. I can't wait. And I think it's going
to spectate.
Yeah.
Not to ride it.
No. I'm not. I mean, I'm probably going to race that day, but not in that. For sure. But I'm looking forward to it, because the Classic in general has always been the biggest weekend, and it's the 100 runneth. It's the oldest racing series in the country. For motorcycle racing. So it's a big deal. And I can't. I got to, and it's bike week too.
And it's the largest purse in sports history in the U.S., I believe, too. So that's why it's bringing so much attention for people to go.
So
I'm just hoping they bring additional bleachers, because there's going to be a lot of people there to watch. A lot of ex-racers are going to be going.
Yeah, I think so. You think they'll just kind of open up the regular sections for folks to check out?
The NASCAR seating?
Yeah.
They always have them open, but there's only usually a few people out there.
Right.
I'm looking for more bleachers, like in turn 6 or turn 3, like where a lot of the passing action happens.
I think you're gonna have to just be on your bike and just go to different places just to see how. Oh, I guess the practices are gonna be pretty cool to watch too, though.
Everything it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and they're probably gonna have at least maybe 2 days. Because last year they didn't have 2 practices. They usually have 2 practice days on that weekend. So they might even bring that back, so these guys get more time to dial their bikes in. And
yeah, it's going to be. People have their eyes on the top pros, but that's a real tough track to learn, and it's going to take a lot of seat time. So
yeah,
that's why I still think the locals are gonna be up there in the top 5, top 10, because they've got 10, 15 years experience at this track. They know every bump and crevice of that place and what to avoid, and the fast guys with the talent, they're going to show up with their super fast bikes and have a struggle to learn.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're used to perfect tracks.
Loudon is perfect. in its own way, right? It's funny we've heard people that either raced at Loudon and or heard of it. Like I remember they were talking about adding around to the Atlantic region of CCS, and somebody was just like, "Oh, Loudon's a death trap."
Yeah, yeah, and the 1 year that they did that, they mixed up a Loudon event at Jersey, and then a CCS event went to Loudon.
Right.
The riders were very worried or concerned at first, but then some of the guys that I talked to that I knew at CCS races, the more they got there, the more they felt comfortable, and they actually enjoyed it and said, "I would come back here." And actually, for the Loudon Classic, there is a CCS rider that did exactly that, and he's now going to enter in the Classic for this year.
Nice.
Mhm.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait. I guess even going up because there's only 2 rounds before it.
I think it's the third round.
Yeah.
Now, do you have your top predictions?
No, I mean I guess I like Brandon Posh, but who knows what he's gonna do on that 765. The 765 is a good bike to run around at Loudon. We see from Ian on his 765 or 675, depending on which bike he's running. So I'm a fan of his. Local, yeah, you can't bet against Greenwood, right? And Shane is I would probably say is there. Eric Wood is he hasn't been, he's riding his 848. He's got an 848 build like what he raced back in, I think it was AMA or before I got to Loudon. And he may have a V2. So it'll be interesting because he's familiar with that bike. So,
Yep.
So,
Can't forget Eli. He was doing that race. He was doing that race for a while on a single cylinder. Imagine what he's going to do with 3 more cylinders.
Yeah, I was going to say Eli as well because he did a 112 probably for his second time or third weekend on an R6, right? Yeah. Like I think there's like maybe 2 rounds at. So, I think it's 25 laps and it's going to be the cooler heads that finish. You got to finish, right? So I think the people that can, I think the pros and Greenwood and Eric, I think those guys, they're patient. And so, I'll bet my money on the older riders because Loudon, I think you have to be patient to especially for 25 laps. I mean, the most I've done at Loudon is like 17 laps in a race, and so
it's 24 too many laps for me.
Not it's not bad. It's it's what I started on. So I like it, and I still want to race at it. And plan to until it doesn't make sense. But from a I mean I've crashed in turn 3 2 times, so that's what it is. You just
if you haven't crashed in turn 3, are you even a Loudon racer? I split my bike in half one time there.
Yeah, I heard stories about that. So and I think that's the biggest part is probably turn 3, but it's also the slowest turn. So, it is what it is. But, it definitely will be fun to watch. So people, definitely come out and do you think the entries is already full?
No.
Okay.
No, there's still going to be some gaps for people, and I'm sure people will try to do some last-minute entries once they see the purse money.
Right. Yeah, because I even heard they may be even, I don't know if it's a Superbike world champion or I assume it's Superbike because if you win in the U.S., you're not world champion, right?
Richie Escalante's on the list, and I'm actually surprised PJ didn't because he's somewhat of a local, and he learned on that track when he was starting his racing career.
Yeah, so there's some big names and some big riders. So I mean, last year the classic was fun to watch. So and so I can only imagine this year.
It's going to be wild. I'm looking forward to sitting in the bleachers with a drink and watching that happen and not being on the track doing that for 25 laps.
Come on, man! It's 25 laps. It's nothing. You could do 25 laps.
Not consecutively.
If you do back-to-back races, it's at least 16. Well, I guess it depends on which track you're at.
Yeah.
I like the GTUs and stuff. I didn't do many last year, but the first year when I was going up and down, which also helped me learn the tracks doing the GTU. So I kind of got used to it.
Okay.
Um,
So speaking of the classes, when you started reaching out to me a couple of years ago and said, "How do you pick your schedule? How do you know what you're doing?" Like, how did you figure out your schedule now in your regions?
I kept calling you. I was like, "What does this mean? What does that mean?" No, it's I stress in early episodes like read the real books, the rule book, because that was the hardest part is trying to figure out, do I want to do middleweight superbike, middleweight super sport? Well, I was doing Formula 40. Did I want to do the Grand Prix?
Is my bike legal for this stuff?
Yeah, is my bike legal for this one? That type of thing, and I think for me, I had to try a bunch of different classes, and that's kind of what I did before. Kind of settled in by like halfway through the season. I kind of settled into which ones I liked, that type of thing. But I think you really just depending on if you're a middleweight bike, you just do all the middleweight races and see which one you like. And then that's kind of how I kind of figured it out. But I was also playing with schedule because I didn't really have I think I did 20 rounds in 2021 between CCS and Loudon.
It's a lot.
And so I was also picking races just based on when I can leave to drive back, and so I had to figure out like I got to stay to the last race because that's what it is. And that's kind of when you start chasing like championships, right? When you're like, okay, well, jumping around is great to learn tracks and learn the stuff, but if you want to try to get a regional championship, you kind of have to pick the same races all the time, and you had to tell me that like at least 3 or 4 times.
Well, that's the thing is when I started CCS, I was picking based on schedule. Like I don't want to be there to the end of the day Sunday. I've got a 7-8 hour drive home, so I'm going to pick the races early Sunday, pack up and leave.
Right.
But once you start getting familiar with the different classes and which ones you like with your competitive classes and who you're riding with, then you say, okay, well, now I might want to do a championship, so I'm going to commit to these specific races and I'm going to follow the schedule and do the whole region.
Right, exactly.
And that's where we're at now.
Right. Yeah. And so, for me, next 2023, I'm doing the 300/Moto 3 class because I'm racing the KTM and coming out of the middleweight class. And I had to even looking at Wera and looking at AHRMA, looking at their schedule because I'm hoping to race Laguna Seca probably next year. So just looking at the schedules and stuff like that. Now it's just like, okay, I have a better understanding of what classes my bike fit in now. But when I first started, I was completely clueless.
Yeah, it's that there is no easy way to learn. And that's what I said. You just try different stuff and see what you like because it's not going to be the same for you. You might like the middleweight races, you might like the formula races or the GTs, and you might like the lightweight stuff or the middleweight stuff because you have different bikes. Just give it a shot your first year or two, and then you kind of figure out a plan in your head on what you want to commit to going forward.
Yeah, and I would say last year I did 2 bikes, ultra lightweight or 300 class and the middleweight class, and I had a lot of back-to-back races. If you're doing 2 different bike classes, you
Stressful.
might I'm only doing one bike this year.
Especially when the weather keeps raining and drying because you don't know what to do in between.
I still haven't gotten over NC bike. Nice. So this year, new tracks, a couple of new tracks for you this year. Still staying with the same bike, and you're not going to get an RS 660 or Yamaha R9 or R7.
I mean, I'm very comfortable with the Suzuki, and I like the Suzukis, and I'm at the point that I know them, mechanically inside and out. So it's easy for me because a big thing that I've always told people at the track when they're talking about racing is don't be the different guy at the track. Don't get the rare bike that no one has parts or knowledge for. Get what everyone has because there's a reason. Get the Ninja, get the R6 or the Suzuki because if you crash or a part breaks like a rectifier or radiator, case in point, you can go around the paddock and generally find someone that'll have a spare part and get you back on the track because once again, you spent all that time and money to get there it would really suck if you have to pack them and go home because of something like that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, Now, this is something I got into last year because of you, and you started getting sponsorship, and let's talk about what made you do it, and your thoughts on it, and is it a good thing? Should everybody try to do it? Is it easy? Or.
I mean, that's kind of a loaded question because it all depends on what you're trying to get out of it. Or if you're just trying to get a discount on some stuff that you buy, it might work. If you are expecting or looking for a free product and you're willing to put in that kind of work, then that's fine as well. But you really have to know, what you're committing to and what your expectations are from them.
All right, so it's easier to get a discount than it is to say get free stuff.
Right. And when it comes down to, and I believe it was Eric Wood from Woodcraft that was explaining this is, when you reach out to us for sponsorships, we know what you want. You want free or discounted parts. But our question is, what are you going to do for us? Because slapping a sticker on a bike and putting our name in your result sheet or tagging us in social media once in a while, that doesn't really do anything. Everyone's got the same stickers and all that. No one's going to look at a picture of Chris's bike and go, oh, he's got a Woodcraft sticker. I'm going to call Woodcraft and say, I want whatever he has. You have to put the interactions and the face-to-face stuff with the riders and explain and show why their parts are worth purchasing and to bring in business for them.
Gotcha. And now, and so that's more. And what about the free stuff? Is that when you say put in work, because you get some free stuff, it's fair to say, and you get some discounts as well, and you've been able to cultivate it seems like a beautiful relationship with some vendors that give you some love.
It wasn't easy, and the expectation when people do sponsorships is, well, I'm a fast rider. Okay, well, a lot of those guys don't really last more than 2 or 3 years. So sponsors kind of look into that because they want a longer commitment. They want someone that's going to be at the track, and speed doesn't necessarily mean dollars. Like I said, not everyone's going to go and say, I want what Chris has because he won that race.
Right.
They're going to go to and call them and say, I want what Chris has because I talked with him. He explained the parts. He was showing how they're useful and how to replace them in this. I want to try your stuff. So going back to the whole commitment thing, if for free products, for example, I send out newsletters every month to my sponsors with race results, championship status, changes to the bike, what the next event is, including professional photos that I buy from all the various photographers at the track.
Right.
I will send out periodically emails with, hey, do you have any products you need me to push or hashtags or what do you need me to promote for you? What are you looking to get out of me? As well as at the end of the year, I'll send out social media stats, which shows the age, the gender, the geographical location. That way I can say, I'm targeting your audience that you want. I'm getting this age rate. I'm getting this part of the country. And these are the males between 18 to 35 are your, targeted customer for racing and track products.
Wow.
Not to get too much into it, but
well, no, we want to. I mean, because a lot, some people may just think it's easy, or some people may think it's not worth it. For a while, I didn't even think about it. I was trying to just fix my riding and ride better, and not thinking like, oh, maybe I should get discounts and stuff, and maybe try to get some not necessarily free stuff because you got to work for it, as you just mentioned. But after being able to do it for a couple of years now, it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everything helps. And I mean, unless you're financially stable and you don't care about discounts or you don't want to put stickers on your bike and you just want your own decals and logos in there, then that's fine. But the big thing that I stress for like new riders, because they'll apply for everything, you don't want to be a rolling billboard.
Right.
There's a couple riders that their whole bike is just full of sponsorship stickers or brands that they've purchased. The problem is when you look at a photo, you can't identify one brand because they're just plastered with all these different stickers. That's not attractive to sponsors because they want to get the attention in the photos or when you see them on the track.
Got you.
You don't want to look like a mural.
I gotta take some stickers off my bike.
But you understand what I'm saying.
I do. It's marketing, and these companies, they want to get the value from what they're giving you, and 30%, 40% on a discount is great, especially if you crash a lot, or your camera will fall off the straightaway like my GoPro did down at NC Bike, because I didn't safety wire it to my bike.
Well, it's not just crashing too. It's maintenance. If you do a lot of riding, you're going to burn through a lot of oil. You're going to burn through a lot of tires. You're just going to use a lot of parts.
Right. Shout out to Motul and Michelin.
And Michelin, yeah, of course.
Good peoples.
You use Michelin tires too.
I use Michelin tires for sure, and Motul oil as well. So, but that is the thing, finding brands you like, and if you do like these products, then look to see if they have sponsor programs, and pretty much apply, right?
And another thing of advice that I personally have given out to riders is, don't pick the sponsorship just because they're giving you an offer. If it's not something that you like or would want to use, don't waste your time.
Right.
So I've seen, and it's more common with influencers, that they'll, whatever gets thrown at them, and let's just say a suit or a jacket they got for free because they're an influencer, and if they crashed and the suit tears apart, they end up messaging me going, man, I really wish I didn't take this suit, and I would have rather buy one of a better quality, or any sort of brands like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. You definitely don't want free stuff just to be free. You kind of have to like it. I mean, I think I heard Shaquille O'Neal say this, but it's anybody in general. Like, why would you, invest or spend time in something you don't really like? I mean, I guess if you just want to check.
Right. I mean, I will only do sponsorships with brands that I would or have bought if I had to pay full retail. I've had offers with other helmets and all that, and it's like I appreciate that, but I'll only wear a Rye. So if I can't get a deal with a Rye, I'm still going to buy them, but I turn down other brands.
Got you. Now, the brands that, like, talking at the track and talking about brands at the track that you deal with, and because you're a Michelin now, you're traveling up and down. How do you find working with that organization and dealing with different tire guys, for lack of a better word, at the tracks?
It's good. I mean, you build a relationship the more you ride with them, the more you work with them, and sometimes you go, like in the South, for example, there's often not a Michelin vendor, so I usually will bring tires with me and have a different vendor install them. And if I have questions regarding the tire wear, the vendors that I do work with normally in the season, they're great. I can send them photos and ask questions, and they respond.
Nice. Have you tried other brands besides Michelin, or you kind of was like always Michelin?
So the other thing that I highly recommend for track day riders or even racers when they're starting is to try everything. You don't know what you're going to like unless you try it. Same thing with going to different racetracks. So I have ridden on every tire, with the exception of Bridgestone, but I have used Bridgestone Reigns.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I have Bridgestone Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've tried everyone except for Dunlop. That's the only one I haven't tried.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, and it's funny. I rode Michelin's and then switched to Bridgestone for a quick second, and I'm back to Michelin. And I thought about going to Pirelli for a little bit, but I think I'm gonna run this year on the Michelin's because I have honestly no complaints about them.
I actually started my race season when I started as a rookie on Continental.
There's a few people that run Continental.
Bam, yep.
Yeah. I maybe cars. I might have had some Continentals. That's about it. Now let's talk about so the maintenance you do on your bike, you pretty much do all of it. But do you tear down your engine as well? Do you tear down your suspension? Do you send those things out? And kind of like, what do you do in the off season? Because until you go racing again. This year's an anomaly because I think the last few years there was no off season.
Year round for two or 3 years. So maintenance is a big thing because you need to have a consistent performing motorcycle, and if you don't keep up with the maintenance, then the bike won't perform consistently, and it's going to impact your performance, and you won't feel confident in the bike to ride at your potential. So to answer your question, I don't work on motor or suspension internals.
Okay.
Those are when I take them off and I hand them to the professionals and say, work your magic. But anything else is mine. So right after Daytona, I swapped the frames because I had a crack in one of them from an old wreck. And I do this every year too. I will re-grease and repack the chassis bearings or replace them. And that's including the linkage, the steering head bearings, the swing arm bearings, even the wheel bearings too.
Right.
Because as soon as those things start to go, the bike's just not going to feel right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you're the first person that I heard, and because you tell me that you're doing all these things, and I was like, I didn't even think of all that. And
And brakes.
I was gonna say,
I clean my brake pistons every other race weekend.
wow.
Just to keep that performance, just to keep the dust from building up there and causing brake failures. Because when it comes down to it, it's my life. Not only do I going to endanger my own life, but my fellow racers around me. And, I just don't know how it would, go on.
Right.
If I cause somebody to get severely hurt or worse because I was being lazy with my maintenance.
Yeah. No, get your maintenance done, folks. Get them done because it's very important. I think I slacked off last year a little bit because I definitely had like issues at the beginning of the year that I could have avoided if I just looked my bike over.
Or listen to me.
Yeah, exactly. I'll listen to Jim, which I do a lot more, and it's helped me out a lot going up and down the East Coast, and it's made my life easier because going to these places by yourself and just being completely green. Sure, the track is most people are friendly and somebody will point you in the right direction, but sometimes you don't want to overstep your welcome or whatever case. That's how I kind of feel about it. So it was easy that how we connected and then just going down all these different tracks. And I mean, the last few years has just been pretty cool.
Took you like 2 years before you started changing a gearing for racetracks.
It took me about like 6 months, but still. By the time we got to Daytona in October, I was changing my gear. The first year.
That's right, because that's when I really started talking to you a lot is when we had the garage and you were frustrated because you brought your bike to a shop to have them do the Daytona gearing and they messed the gearing up. They did the wrong ratio and the wrong size chain and you couldn't even get your tire warmer on.
Yep.
And you were ready to pack up and go home. I'm like, what are you, out of your mind? How much did you spend to get down here and do all this? I was like, screw that. I'm like, go to the vendor, go buy another chain. We're gonna fix this. You're gonna get into the next practice.
Yep, and that's how it worked out. And I did fairly well that weekend, and but it's pretty wild because it's like if you don't know certain things, you kind of just get stuck. So it's always good to just have somebody that kind of can help you out, especially in the beginning. And make it easy. So everybody should have a gym when they go riding for the first time.
That's the problem with the Suzuki's because I've been racing so long on the same bike. Everyone's like, "Oh, you have a problem with the Gixxer? Or are you looking for a part?" Oh, the guy over there with the Motul canopies, he's probably got the tool, the part, or know how to get it or get one for you.
Right. And that's the other thing, right? Like the amount of tools that you have, it's like legit. Like you have a tool. You have to have everything you need. It's not always easy starting out. Which we talked about on some other episodes, but like your toolbox got everything.
And so I actually just went through it in October and started taking out duplicates and things that I don't need. But my toolbox is essentially set up for me to disassemble the bike all the way down to a frame and then build it back up. Just in that event, because I did it at a friend's garage after Daytona.
Nice.
So I've got all the special sockets and everything there, and everything's all organized for quick and easy access.
Nice.
That way, when we have a quick rain, when it starts to rain and you got to change your tires really quick, I can go, hey, Chris, go into that second drawer on the left-hand side, get me the 10-millimeter socket.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it sounds. And I'm like, and I still be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I've gotten better. My toolbox game is coming up. I was actually thinking about pulling out some tools that I may not need, but now that you said all that, they're going back in. Well, anyone you want to shout out or any sponsors you want to talk about? I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a wealth of knowledge, and I can't wait till I think April. Well, you're going racing next month. I wish I was.
You still can. You still have the opportunity, but
Fingers crossed.
like Chris mentioned, I'm big on Motul. I've been partnered with them since I think 2013, 2014 about now. They've always been really great to me, and I'm very fortunate to now have a partnership with Michelin as well, and looking forward to their new Power Performance tire that just came out. So I'm going to be using that this year.
Nice. I just got on Motul. I'm not a partner yet, but I get discounts. Well, thanks for coming on. It's the B4evaKool podcast. My name is Rex45. This is Jim. Peace.